What's up, guys? Happy Tuesday night. Thanks for joining us. I'm Rob Whiteside, and this is Deep in the Plus. Tonight we're going to do something that's maybe not so deep in the plus, and with me is someone who is very used to this show, Jill Diffendahl. How's it going, Jill?
Hello, everyone.
So, you reached out and we were talking about stuff that we could do for the holidays, and there's this brand new special that was kind of too hard to pass up, and you chose...
I chose the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special because, so it's brand new. It just came out last week. I know it's not exactly deep in the plus because it's brand new, but I feel like in a year it's going to be deep in the plus. But also it's just too fun. And like, it's not, this is not some big Disney release. Obviously it's direct to Disney Plus. And it's more sort of a fun, family enjoyment popcorn movie. Maybe a little bit like Noelle was supposed to be last year, that, this is not something to take serious. It's not, something that's going to be a huge piece of like Disney, cinematic release or whatever. So it's just fun and let's chat about it because I feel like everybody's probably checking it out sometime in this holiday season.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously I was going to watch this. It's Star Wars, it's holiday. I was very excited about it. It's 47 minutes long, so it's an easy watch. It's based loosely on the idea of the horrible 1978 mistake, the Star Wars Holiday Special. I assume you've seen that.
I have. And actually, so just to clarify for anyone who is watching who maybe doesn't know, this is not like a Lego remake of the holiday special. I mean, first of all, God forbid. Like, I don't even think that's allowed because I know like George Lucas and Steven Spielberg want to pretend like the original Star Wars holiday special from 1978 never existed. So of course they're not going to greenlight a Lego remake of that, and nor should they, because God, that thing was so weird. And no one would sit through it in Lego form either, I'm quite sure. So
and that's what I thought this was at first, and I was very scared about it, that maybe they could erase the history of it by saying, oh, here's a fun Lego version of it, forget that other one. It's got Life Day, which was originally from that holiday special. As it opens up, Han is taking Chewie back to his home planet to be with his family on Life Day. There's a Mrs. Chewie, there's a little baby Chewie, there's a grandpa Chewie. It's very weird and awkward, and I kind of hate that it exists. They throw a lot of like references about that into this. They talk about Life Day, and then Chewie's family shows up, and it's the Chewie's family from the special.
Well, and so here's one of the things I think is a little bit weird about it, and maybe it's because like there's never been an acknowledgement that there is Christmas or any other human Earth holiday in the Star Wars universe, as far as I'm aware. So Life Day is the only really holiday they've ever acknowledged, but it's a Wookiee holiday. Like, Life Day is not a universal holiday across all of the, peoples and planets and cultures of the Empire or the universe or whatever. It's a Wookiee holiday. So I find it so weird that like everyone's getting so into this holiday that's really only a holiday for Wookiees. But at the same time, they don't have any other thing to make a holiday special about because there aren't any other Star Wars holidays.
Well, and at the same time, the whole crew seems to be excited about this. So this kind of picks up where the Rise of Skywalker leaves off. Everybody's together. You've got Rey and Finn and Poe. And Rey and Finn are practicing. She's teaching him the ways of the Force. It's not going very well. But Poe is too excited about Life Day. He can't even, get over himself. He's so excited about it. And one of the things he's most excited about is Tip-Yip. So, product placement, I don't know. I mean, obviously, if you've been to Galaxy's Edge, you know they have Tip-Yip, and you can get it. It's chicken.
My favorite dish at Docking Bay 7.
Docking Bay 7. So there's this feeling that people are excited about Life Day and it's a big deal, and so while this is happening, Ray is like, I want to teach Finn about the Force, so I'm gonna be back in a little bit. And she finds this book that says that there's a temple somewhere, and she's gonna go there and find the key to bringing the Force to Finn. And she goes there, and the temple looks like a giant Christmas tree. I mean, like, that's a little silly.
I actually kind of think
Lego.
it looks like a finger, but
Okay.
that was just me. I felt like it was less Christmassy and more like, hey, what's up? I don't know.
Maybe it's like an inkblot test. I see a Christmas tree. I don't know. So they're there, and they're having this, like, they're all getting ready for Life Day on the Millennium Falcon. Apparently that's the only place they're going to hang out. There's no buildings. They're all going to get on the Falcon to, like, have their party. Then she goes off in search of this key, and she finds this, like, this crystal key, and she finds that it opens up a portal to the past or to the timeline, so that she can jump back and forth and go wherever she needs to go to kind of learn about the Force. But it's kind of cool in the way that it's like a Christmas Carol, where it's like you're going back to different places in time to learn these little like messages, right? Or did you pick that up from it?
I mean, it's certainly so the time travel thing. I don't know. Time travel is always such a plot device fraught with issues. And it's funny because they just decided to not acknowledge any of the issues. Like,
Right.
What happens when your future self meets your past self? Like, we're not going to talk about that. Like, how do you put it all back right after you've screwed things up when you time travel? We're going to pretend like that never happened. Like, it's definitely so. And here's one, probably my biggest issue with this holiday special is the writing has plot holes like Swiss cheese. Like, there's just so much, and I know it doesn't matter. Like, I acknowledge 100% it doesn't matter, but the issues around the plot kind of making a lot of sense. Like, in sometimes it's like the people that she sees when she travels back in time hear her and see her, and then in other times, like in the beginning when she sees Luke and Yoda, they don't see she's there. Meanwhile, like, BB-8's making a ton of noise. How did they not see she was there on Dagobah? It's kind of like, it's all whatever's convenient for the plot is what keeps happening. And I know, yes, I'm not arguing that time travel is established or not. I'm arguing that the convenience of it is like Rey shows up in the cockpit of Luke's X-Wing as he's about to destroy the Death Star. Like, you can't tell me that doesn't cause space-time repercussions. But they can just go back and fix everything. Like, it's no big deal. Like, that's the thing that bothers me, is they don't take time travel. It's very loose. It's very whatever we need to do to advance the cause of the plot, and also not just to advance the fact that we want to showcase all of these different people throughout all of, like, sort of Star Wars history, but also, like, we want to put Rey basically in the middle of every single movie in some convenient fashion. Yeah. So don't think too hard about this plot.
And I don't. Although I do want to. I pulled this up. This is the temple. Mm-hmm. You think that that doesn't look like a Christmas tree?
It does. I kept seeing it as a finger.
Just the tops of it.
And I don't mean like a middle finger or anything. I just mean like a finger.
Yeah. So we've talked about time travel in the past, and there's kind of like the Bill and Ted time travel, where you can go and mess with things and bring people out of time and take them to other times, and you don't seem to screw anything up. And then you've got like the Marty McFly Back to the Future, where if anything you do, you screw up like the timeline. So this one definitely feels like the Bill and Ted version. But
this is definitely the Bill and Ted version of time travel. That's an excellent...
Exactly. You said excellent. I get it. So for me, as a fan, like I'm not taking this too seriously. It's Lego,
Sure,
it's not
sure,
canon,
absolutely.
but it's kind of funny to me to see some of these things where they go back in time, and like where they're in the room. With the Trade Federation, where it's Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, and he's like, "Oh, the Trade Federation stuff is so boring," and it's just like
Yes,
stuff that fans
yes,
say all the time. So
yes.
stuff like that, I
That
think,
is
is pretty neat.
probably, yeah. There are so many, like, and by all means, like, I'm just trying to caution you not to remotely try to take this seriously.
Right.
I'm not saying it's not enjoyable. I'm not saying don't watch it. I'm just saying don't take it seriously. Be prepared for basically this being, I mean, in all honesty, like, it's entirely fan service. It's let's see what happens when, Rey fights Darth Vader, or when the Emperor uses Kylo Ren's crackly lightsaber. It's like, let's take all the things that, we wish we could mash up, but we can't because of, timeline continuity, and do it in this special that is basically meaningless to canon, really, in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
And also, let's poke fun at ourselves. Like, there are so many hilarious lines where it's, there's two Hans. And because there's old Han and young Han, and he's like, you want to shoot first? After you. It's like they call out so many things that are like, it's so much fan service that, taking all the some of the most classic lines like that. They run into Luke, and she sees Luke and Yoda on Dagobah, and Yoda delivers the famous line, "There is no try." I'm going to screw it up now.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Do or not, there is no try. And then Yoda goes on to say, there are no participation trophies for Jedi. Like, it's just, they poke fun at those things. They make them even funnier because they know that fans are like, hang on to those things. So, but I mean, to that end, this is basically like Lego Star Wars fan fiction, because that's what they're doing here. This is what fan fiction does, is take all the things you want to see and put them on a page because they can't do it in the real movies. That's what happens here.
Right. Well, and I'm going to argue this fact that the original holiday special kind of did that too. It was like, we like Wookiees, here's a whole family of them, and, here's a little bit more of some of the things that you liked in the original. Here's Luke, and, they show you all these things, but they just did a very bad job of it. And I think in this one, they do actually a pretty good job of it, but yeah, it is pretty silly. You've got the Star Wars inside jokes where they're making fun of themselves. You've got the Lego jokes when she lands on Dagobah and her hair pops off and she pops it back on again. I think they really do a good job, like, mixing those in, but not overdoing them. But like you said, the Dagobah one is really funny. The idea that, like, he's like, wait a minute, don't try. I mean, isn't that what we're supposed to do here? And then he delivers a line about the no participation. But it's really kind of interesting to me, like, the places they pick to go. So they pick, like, Mustafar, where Obi-Wan and Anakin are fighting with each other. A lot of things that we kind of as fans make fun of. They picked the Dagobah scene with the do or do not. They picked the showdown in the second Death Star with the Emperor and Darth Vader is really kind of the linchpin scene of all of this. And I love a lot of the little jokes they do, but one of them is where they're like, let's call it Death Star 2. And he's like, are we sure? What about Star Killer Base? And he's like, nah, that's ridiculous. We don't want to call it that.
And then Kylo shows up later and he's like, Star Killer. And the Emperor's like, that's a great name.
Wait, before we go any further, let's go ahead and talk about Kylo Ren, Lego Kylo Ren. I know you're a Kylo Ren fangirl, so tell me your thoughts about Lego shirtless Kylo Ren.
Lego shirtless Kylo Ren is hilarious. So the first time we see him, he's shirtless, and Hux walks into the room and is like can't stop misstating what he's saying using words like pectoral and navel because Kylo is bare-chested, and it's just hilarious. Like, Hux has this whole thing, and then later the Emperor and Darth Vader show up, and they're like, "Can you just put a shirt on already?" And he's doing a little dance because he's all pleased with himself. I very much enjoy the flavor of Kylo that they give us in this movie. It's funny, it's cute, but it does bring me to one other huge issue I had with this movie, and maybe this is just me. I know when we've done other episodes of Deep in the Pluses about animated films, we talk a lot about the voice acting, and that is something that made me cringe in this movie because the vast majority of these characters are not voiced by the actors who portrayed them, with a couple of exceptions. So Kelly Marie Tran shows up as Rose, who probably has more lines in this movie than she does in like all of, the final trilogy. Right. Billy D. Williams shows up for a hot second as Lando. He has like 2 lines, but that is 100% Billy D. Williams. And Anthony Daniels shows up as C-3PO because I think there's probably some like clause in the Star Wars universe contract that says nobody but Anthony Daniels can voice C-3PO. Right. But everybody else is another voice actor. And the guy who plays, when Kylo has his helmet on and has the modulated voice, it's fine. It doesn't bother me. But without the helmet, nowhere close to Adam Driver. The girl who plays Rey, nowhere close to Daisy Ridley. Like, her voice is too deep and like guttural, and it just like I can't deal with it. The guy who plays Finn sounds nothing like Finn. The guy who plays Poe sounds nothing like Poe. Like, it's just I couldn't stand it. It made me nuts.
Well, I'm going to tell you that Helen Sadler, who plays the voice of Rey, there were some times where I thought, is it? And then there were more times when I went, nah, that's not her, and plus she wouldn't do it. She's famous for doing a lot of voices in video games, and she did like Jen Erso in a video game and some other Star Wars game. Yeah, you're right, she wasn't in there. But with Poe, it was so far off from Poe that, like, if there hadn't been Finn and Rey, I'm not sure that I would have assumed that the third one was Poe, because they don't really acknowledge it too much, and he's not himself because he's like hyper and he's excited about Life Day and he doesn't quite look the same and he's wearing a Christmas sweater. So I agree 100%. Poe, that one was way, way far off, and probably Finn too. I didn't really get any vibes from that one, but a lot of the voices were voices from Clone Wars. So you had James Arnold Taylor, you had Tom King, you had D. Bradley Baker. So the people who do Clone Wars were doing this one. So for me, there's a little bit, because they, marry those together. I'm okay with some of that, but you're right. They're only the 3 main ones that I could find from there. But
yeah, and some of them were fine. Like Obi-Wan's voice was fine. Anakin didn't really bother me, but it was Poe and I mean Rey especially, because she's basically the central character of this story. Poe, Rey, Finn, and Kylo and Ben Solo were bad, and it made me crazy.
The one thing that I find funny about James Arnold Taylor, and I saw him at a Star Wars weekend do a whole like presentation, and he was like, he had a voiceover that said, "Here he comes, the little man with a big voice, James Arnold Taylor." And then he called himself Jat, James Arnold Taylor. So, like, great branding, but super cringy. Sorry if you're watching. He's not watching. Then there's the Tom Kane as Yoda and Qui-Gon. I thought that was okay, but I love the part where there's the meme of "Hello there" that Anakin does. And so when the 3 are together and they say it at the same time, I think that was kind of a cool thing when that happened. But yeah, you're right. Like, James Arnold Taylor's been Obi-Wan more than Alec Guinness, more than Ewan McGregor everywhere. Yeah. So I'm sorry about the voices. I'm sorry about Kylo the most for you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I think just about anything that wasn't Adam Driver would have been dissatisfying, but, I say that about a lot of things pretty much in my everyday life. So if it's not Adam Driver, it's just not satisfying.
We did a Deep in the Plus. Ben and I did one about Phineas and Ferb Star Wars, and I mentioned in there that none of the voices were used, and they should have been, and they could have been, because they had already made the deal with Lucasfilm and Disney, and they should have been able to use them. And Dan Povenmire, creator of Phineas and Ferb, commented on our story saying, hey, the reason we couldn't use them is they had just been signed to do the next three movies, and they said we couldn't touch them. So I thought that was kind of funny. And then he said he talked to Mark Hamill about that at a party once, and Mark Hamill was like, that's stupid, I would have done it.
So you're saying that Adam Driver might actually watch this episode of Deep in the Plus?
Go ahead and fangirl out right now. So there were a lot of other, like, again, fan items from this. There's the Max Rebo coming in. There's, the sort of the Han shot first, like you talked about. But there's a lot of, like, just silliness that happens. Like when Poe's trying to cook the tip-yip using the Millennium Falcon engine, and then he burns it. It seems unnecessary.
I mean, I guess that's supposed to be comic relief, and maybe that just wasn't a joke that landed. But then there's other things, like one of my favorite aspects of this that was completely unnecessary, and maybe it's just because it's current right now, but I love the fact that they threw it in, was, as at one point, Darth Vader and Rey are sort of battling. They're falling through these time-space portals and fighting like lightsaber to lightsaber, and then all of a sudden they fall into a new place, and they look down, and there is Baby Yoda and the Mandalorian, and they like stop mid-swing of the lightsaber, and they're like, oh, he's so cute, and I'm just like, look, it's Baby Yoda. So I love the fact that they just did a little, again, it's all fan service, it's all just fan service. That everybody knows Baby Yoda is the greatest viral thing that's happened to pretty much anything Disney in the last decade, and so of course they have to throw him in there in a Star Wars holiday special, because the whole point of this was, let's show you all the things about Star Wars that you love or that you hate, but we're going to make you laugh about it.
Which is why there wasn't enough Jar Jar, I think.
I was so grateful that there was one Jar Jar reference, and it was basically throwing Jar Jar under the bus, is like, Jar Jar sucks.
Yep. So the part you're talking about, I saw some people talk about it as if it was an Easter egg, and I don't see it as an Easter egg. I see it as a cameo more than it was an Easter egg. Mm-hmm. But I love the fact that they use the Mandalorian music when they pull into that scene. So, like, before I even wrap my head around what was happening, I heard the music, I was like, oh, this is Mandalorian. It was really awesome to see. What did you think about the Vader versus Vader scene on Hoth?
I thought it was pretty funny. I thought, again, maybe it dragged on a smidge too long, and it was probably unnecessary, but I don't know. I thought it was a funny, and again, there's that whole sort of, in time travel, what would happen if you meet yourself? And clearly they're going the Bill and Ted version where, you're just like, well, isn't that something? But I don't know. It did make me laugh a little bit, but probably was a little bit more drawn out than it needed to be.
And in chat, Leaf says, fan service is why we love Disney. And that's not wrong. Like, going to D23, there's sizzle reels before you, like, see any panel, and they really get to you because you're like, yes, like, give me all the stuff I want. There are some times when it's like that, right? I mean, obviously, there are some things that they give you in this thing that they're giving you, like you said, it's fan service. It's just because they know the fans are going to be the ones to watch it, right? And then because it's not canon, it's not going to hurt anybody to do it. So like you said from the beginning, don't take it too seriously when you watch it. But to me, the Vader versus Vader was just kind of funny when they're trying to, like, figure out who's who and I'm you, and they look the same. It's kind of funny.
I wish they had actually done a little bit more, like towards the end, with like everyone else trying to figure out which Vader was which.
That would have been
But
good.
like it just sort of ended without there being any kind of confusion of like, is he the Vader that like which Vader is the correct timeline Vader and which Vader is not? I don't. They could have done something a little funnier with that.
Okay, here's another bit that I liked. You talked about Billy D. Williams and you only had a couple lines, but there was the one line where he opens up a present and he's like, I hope it's a cape, I hope it's a cape, and it's like Admiral Akbar that goes, it's a wrap!
It's a
And
wrap.
like, solid. That was solid.
Yeah. Yeah. I also like when Billy D. Williams rolls into the Millennium Falcon and he's like, off-world Jawas, nice. Like, and I don't even know what that means. Maybe that's a joke somewhere in Star Wars fandom that I don't know, but it was just like, it was almost like something that like seemed a little bit kind of dirty, like, off-world Jawas, nice. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know, it came off so funny to me and it made me laugh. I watched this twice and it made me laugh just as hard the second time I saw that for like no apparent reason.
yeah, the Jawas who were on Tatooine, that's their native land, and the ones that were in the Mandalorian were actually off-world Jawas. So they're not on Tatooine. But if he made it sound like super creepy, then, whatever works, right? Um, they could have gone to any point in the saga. Where didn't they go that you wish they had?
Oh man, that's a good question. I guess I was here's this sort of answers your question, but to me it was the thing, and again, if this movie was entirely fan service, I as a fan, what I wanted to see most was more of the Ben Solo Ray kind of relationship, and
Sure.
it wasn't really there. Like there was a little smidge of it at the end, but even then they kind of twisted it, and I'm not really sure what they were trying to say with it. But I wanted there to be more of that, and there wasn't. And so I wish there had been something there because I also think it could have been kind of part of the lesson that Ray was trying to learn. Like the whole point of basically the entire third trilogy was Ben's fall and then redemption. And I think there could have been a lesson in there somewhere for Ray that like even people you give up on might redeem themselves. You don't know. Like you shouldn't just, write somebody off. And so there could have been a way to build that into the plot, and it would have made a whole lot of fangirls really, really happy if they had.
You mean you. So here's an interesting part about that though. She's seeing Ben theoretically for the first time since he spoilers. I mean, everybody's seen the last movie at this point, I assume. But since he's disappeared, since he's gone, since she's lost him, he pops up, and she doesn't seem to be triggered too much by that. And again, it's not
Yeah.
canon; it's just a Lego movie. But I feel like there should have been a little bit more emotion about that moment.
Yeah. No,
So
for sure. And that was probably, it was a little disappointing that there wasn't at least more angst between the two of them. Like for him to be, because obviously this must take place between episode 8 and 9 because he has this flashback of, basically turning on Snoke. But he's still alive.
right.
So it's got to be in that time slot, and yet here we are. That so she's obviously, there's a lot of stuff that has happened between the two of them at this point, and yet there was no acknowledgement of that. And that meanwhile, there's plenty of acknowledgement of other relationship strife, like obviously Vader and the Emperor, and Ben getting all excited that he gets to meet his grandpa in person, all of that kind of thing. And yet that's, you know,
By the way, Penguin Project in chat said Off-World Jawas now playing on OBT. So
yeah, that's pretty much totally the vibe I got. Thank you, Arlo.
so anyway, so back to this. There's the movie itself, and you were talking about the scene with Kylo taking place between 8 and 9, but the special itself is taking after 9, and so we see Dio for the first time, to my knowledge, in anything other than the final movie, right?
Yes. I
And
think
then
that's
you
right.
also see like
I
Babu
don't, I
Frick is
didn't, I
thrown in
never
there
cared
too.
for Dio, so I didn't pay a lot of it. I know, like they tried to shove the merch down our throats, like he's like the Chewie of Star Wars, but it wasn't anything I really cared about, so I didn't pay a ton of attention.
Dio the merchandise droid.
Hmm.
Speaking of merchandise, though, there's a mug that Darth Vader gives the Emperor, and this is actually mirroring a scene from Robot Chicken where he gives him a mug. It's almost the same exact scene, and it says "World's" or I think Galaxy's Greatest Emperor on it, and he's like,
Hmm.
"Yeah, I'm like the only one, and this is garbage." And Darth Vader says, "I got that for you on Batu." Again, a little bit of product placement
Yep.
there with Galaxy's
There were
Edge. So
two, yeah, those were the two Galaxy's Edge references, the tip yip and then that. But just the fact that they threw that in there, again, fan service.
yeah, no, I'm there for it. In the old Lego games, the characters never talked. It would just be them making noises as they went around, and I think maybe the Lego movie changed how like Lego specials and things were probably. But there are a lot of Lego specials. This one to me went pretty fast for a 47-minute special.
Hmm.
Touched on a lot of the fan stuff as you said. I had a lot of fun watching it. I don't know if you did too, or if you were just watching it with a critical eye because you knew we'd be talking about it today.
I tried to allow myself to watch it just for enjoyment. And I did, like, there were absolutely moments where I laugh out loud. I have a hard time watching anything without being a little bit critical of it. And so, and it was fine. Again, it's not that I didn't enjoy it. I just had to keep reminding myself that this is a fluff piece, basically. It's meant to, make the fans laugh. It's meant to be something for all ages. It was hard because I watched it, you know, I guess the day I watched it, and then I watched the latest episode of The Mandalorian, and then I watched this again. And so, kind of having it like The Mandalorian in the middle, and just like this, especially the episode 4, like which was so packed with so much drama, incredible action, and plot significance. And then you contrast that with the Lego Star Wars movie that has like, I mean, there was action, but not like incredibly like well cinema. Oh, I don't know what the verb of cinematography is, but incredibly well filmed action. I mean, like gorgeously well filmed action. And then you've got like these cutesy, little plastic toys swinging lightsabers around. So there's definitely a huge breaking news. Jill admits to being critical. It's
Yeah,
true, and like I don't only do it to stuff that I review for this show or for anything else. I like it. It ruins my life. It incapacitates my ability to find joy in things because I have to see all the things that are wrong with it. I can't just see the things that are right with it. Um,
yeah, and I think like
but
the Force that brings balance to us on this show is because I've been accused of liking everything. So
well, I
it's a balance.
mean,
No,
you
come
kind of
on,
do. So yeah,
come on. Okay,
you kind of do.
I don't like the Dallas Cowboys. Anyway,
As
so
well as no one should like the Dallas Cowboys.
okay, so anything else you want to talk about on this particular episode? Anything else? Any other comments before we wrap?
I think those were my main things. Yeah, I mean, it's just there were definitely, and again, like I don't want to say that I didn't enjoy it. I absolutely did. There were things about it that I didn't like. I mean, honestly, in the grand scheme, like the voices were probably the thing that if the voices had been better, I would have not been as, I wouldn't have had that bee in my bonnet to point out some of the other to pick on some of the other things that I didn't like about it. But that being said, it's really fun. It's really fun, and
Right.
it's a good, especially if you're a holiday special person, do it.
So, one of the things that I saw about this is every year we get the Lego Advent calendar. All the characters from this are in the Lego Advent calendar. So it's really neat that there's actually some kind of synergy with this special. When Darth Vader's wearing the Christmas sweater, that figure is in the Advent calendar. So run out and get
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So
I would get it just for Darth
sure.
Vader in the Christmas sweater.
I don't know if shirtless Kylo Ren is in there, but if it is, that should seal the deal for you.
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, you've kind of led to this anyway, but I want to have that large dramatic moment where I ask you, Jill Diffendahl, would you recommend this special?
I would definitely recommend the special, especially if you're a Star Wars fan. There's going to be a lot of little references, memes, jokes. I mean, some of the reviews you read online basically say this movie is a Star Wars meme, and it kind of is, and in a really fun, enjoyable way. I'm sure there's some fanboys out there that are complaining about like this, that's not canon and blah, blah, blah. But like, just go into it to have fun, laugh, watch it with your friends, your kids or whatever, and just have a good time. It's fun. It's something different. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah. And for me, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. So to me, I loved how it was just kind of like you said, like it was a meme. It was like a nod to these things that I love about the universe or that I've made fun of in the past. So I think if you're a Star Wars fan, you have to watch it. Just like Blue Harvest, Family Guy, if you haven't watched that and you're a fan of Star Wars, you're missing out because that's hilarious. But you have to watch the movies first. I've seen people who watch like Spaceballs, but they haven't seen Star Wars. So, if you haven't watched the Star Wars movies, obviously all of them are there on Disney Plus for you to watch. If you go to search, it's the Skywalker Saga, and it just has them all laid out for you. But if you've seen the movies and you're looking for something fun, I definitely think you should watch this. And this is us starting the holiday season. We're going to be talking about a lot more holiday specials and movies and things. So I'm excited that we got to do this one, Jill. I was asked that if anybody's out there watching, just please like and subscribe. This is a brand new channel, WDW Entertainment. We'd love for you to follow us so you can get all the alerts when new programming's on, whether it's this or the RPG or Cosmic Read Live or Geekly Kingdom. They're all going to be here. So make sure to subscribe. And give us a like if you'd like to. We'd like to get more likes than the rest of them. A little competitive. It's fine. The other thing I want to mention is we've got a huge marathon show coming up this weekend. Jill, you're going to be there. Do you want to talk about that for a second?
I would love to. So every year, I think this is the 9th year, give or take, somewhere in that neighborhood. WDWNT every year, the weekend after Thanksgiving, does a many hour long charity marathon. Normally last year it was 50 hours and we raised money for Toys for Tots. This year, in honor of Disneyland's anniversary, we are doing 65 hours. Yes, you heard me, 65 straight hours of live programming. And the money we raise is going to benefit the cast member pantry because we all know that 2020 is a crazy year and there are a heck of a lot of Disney cast members who have been furloughed. And so we are giving the money to a charity to support them so they can feed their families and do what they need to do despite all the awful stuff that's going on in the world today. So that starts Friday morning at 8 a.m. I want to say. I hope it's either 7 or 8 a.m. and goes all the way through midnight. It should be 7. I think it has to be 7, actually, if I do the math. Yeah. All the way through midnight on Sunday night. So you have tons of great programming. We're going to have live streams. We're going to have from the parks. We're going to have an episode of this very show, although a special episode of this very show on Saturday afternoon, if I'm correct.
3 to 5, yeah.
We have a special episode of WDW News Tonight on Friday night. There will be a return of some fan favorites, like the map game will be happening on Friday night. On Saturday, I believe. So if you are a WIGS member, a member of our WIGS program, which is the WDWNT Interglobe Society, it's a subscription-based program. You can learn more about that at patreon.com/WDWNT. wigs can donate to be a part of a special comeback episode of Around the Hub with Patrick Hackett, which is a panel show where basically Patrick asks questions, and the whole point is to make some witty quips and get more points from Patrick than anybody else. So if you are wigs and are interested in that, we've got details on the Patreon page for you. Check that out. We've got some other cool things. I'm super excited because me and Miss Allison from WDW News Tonight and our very own Alicia Kaiser and our very own Jessica Figueroa are going to be broadcasting live Saturday morning from the Orlando Cat Cafe, which is a location in Orlando where you can hang out and meet cats that are up for adoption. It's a charity itself, and they are being more than generous to host us and let us play with cats and talk about our top 7 favorite Disney cats and live stream from their location about 15 minutes from Walt Disney World. So that's exciting. So all kinds of cool stuff, crazy stuff's going on. We've got, I believe the page where you get all the details is wdwnt.com/marathon. So go check it out. And we're going to have just tons and tons of awesome content right after the holiday. So check us out.
You didn't even mention Park Center. We're doing Park Center 9 o'clock on Saturday night.
There's so many things to mention. I'm sorry.
You're all about the kitty cats, but you weren't talking about Park Center. It's fine. It's fun.
Crazy excited about the kitty cats. It's
and then
insane.
carouselproducts.com, we're going to be selling a shirt to raise money for the Cast Pantry as well. So check that out. We're also going to have be running some specials for the holidays. So, carouselproducts.com. That's the end of our plugs. And again, thank you guys so much for joining us. We hope to see you during the marathon show, all 65 hours, whatever you can spare, and then whatever money you can give to the great cause. Jill, thank you so much for doing this with me. I appreciate it.
Of course.
And we will see you guys real soon. Thanks again. Take care.
Good night, everybody.